Hello, abnormal family. Well, we made it to a Saturday. That means tonight is our live. Tonight's live is going to be at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope all of y'all will show up. I love talking to y'all. It's going to be a good live. I will tell you in advance, there's going to be a content warning on the live because we're going to go deep into some pretty scary things. We're going to talk about some pretty scary things, and I'm going to show some videos and some clips of some pretty scary things. So I hope y'all join us, and hopefully we can all get answers together. Again, that'll be at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight. And also, if the storms are not too bad, I'm in a high-risk tornado tonight, so the storms will also play a role in if we go live or not. I was 12 at the time of this experience. I'm now 21. Before I tell my story, I'm going to give a little information. I was living with my mom at the time, and we were living in these people's garage, which was renovated into a type of an apartment. It was one big space that had a kitchen and a bathroom. As you entered the apartment, through the door you entered, it was into my mom's bedroom. The door didn't lock. Our apartment was about 30 feet away from the main gate, which was attached to the brick wall that sounded and surrounded the rest of the property. It wasn't a very high wall, and there were trees lined up in front of the wall. The yard was big, and there was a swing that was connected to the treehouse, which belonged to the landlord's son. For the sake of the story, I had to put this in there. His son's name was Ethan. One night my mom went out, and I was left alone. As far as I knew, the landlords weren't home either. Otherwise, Ethan and I would have sleepovers or just play together. I decided to sit outside the apartment to enjoy the cool night's breeze. And I was minding my own business when I got the most dreaded feeling that I wasn't alone or that I was being watched. I scanned my surroundings to find the cause of this feeling, and finally my gaze fell on the gate. The street was well lit, and I could see the outlines of the trees, but I couldn't see anything out of the ordinary until movement by the gate caught my eye. It looked to be the outline of a head crouched behind where the wall and the gate met. I couldn't make out much, but I could make out the pair of ears, and that the head was covered in fur. If I listened carefully, I could hear panting. My first thought was that it was a dog, but that thought left rather quickly as the head snapped up. Now a 7-foot frame was towering over the wall, and I could see that it was covered in fur, but was standing on 2 legs like a man would. Its head faced me, and I could feel my heart pounding. I slowly got up, making my way to the door, and I didn't take my eyes off it just in case it moved. I started crying in fear and frustration as I tried to close the door without looking for the handle or something without looking away. But after a few seconds, the creature put its arms on the gate, and I could see the outlines of the sharp, long claws. And that did it for me. I looked at the door, grabbing it and slamming the door closed without another look. I put what little weight I had and kept the door closed, and I stayed very still and listened carefully. I could hear footsteps coming to the door, and I started to full-on panic. Tears streamed down my face. Then I heard the low growl right outside the door, and it pushed at the door enough to almost open it, the growl growing louder. I know what I did was possibly the worst thing to do, but it was a terrified child. I screamed at the top of my lungs as loud as I could. The growling stopped, and after a few seconds I stopped screaming, and I thought I could hear footsteps leaving. I waited a long time before quietly moving away from the door and fetching a chair to put under the door. I then tried to move very quietly, went to the kitchen to grab one of my mom's biggest knives, and I went to hide under my bed, which faced the direction of the door. I tried staying awake, but from pure fear and exhaustion I fell asleep under my bed. I woke up to the sound of the door opening and the chair being pushed aside. I clutched the knife in my hands, only to hear a familiar voice and see a pair of ugly pink Snickers that I knew were my mom's. I came out from under the bed, leaving the knife there, and hugged her. She held me back and didn't even ask why I was under the bed. I could see she was exhausted. I decided not to say anything as I let her go to bed, and I made my way to the door to look outside. It was daylight. I didn't know at the time, but I did see Ethan playing on the swings. I stepped outside to look around. Everything seemed fine. Ethan noticed me, waving and calling my name. I waved back and went to join him, and we talked. I almost forgot about the night before. We heard this Dad calling him. He promised to come play later, and then he ran to his house. I smiled, feeling relaxed, got off the swing, and started walking to the apartment. Just before I reached the door, I heard Ethan calling me. I stopped and looked toward his house, but he wasn't there. I was confused, and I heard him call me again, but this time I looked by the swings, and I regretted that instantly. Right behind the treehouse, next to the swings, stood a tall creature staring at me with the sunken dark holes where the eyes should have been. Its limbs were unnaturally long, and its body was thin and gray and looked rotten. I thought I could see just matted hair all over it, but I didn't look any longer. I ran inside and crawled under the bed. Again, I heard the howling. It looked like, if you could picture, an old dog that had lived 15, maybe more years. It looked decrepit. It looked like it hurt it to walk. And you could tell that it had been in a lot of fights by the scars on its face. The thing had scratches across its chest and its face and above its eyes, and one of its ears was missing like a half moon out of it. You could tell it had been around a while. I heard the growl again, and a low growl, and then a howl. And I heard the rattling of the fence as the fence clanged, and the creature was gone. We have since moved, and I've often wondered whatever happened to Ethan. I never heard anything bad, so I assumed that he was fine also. I wanted to share this story with you to let you know that they're not only there in the dark, but they are there in the daylight. I hope you've enjoyed my encounter. I think it was a good encounter. I think you should have told your mom what you seen instead of allowing her to go to sleep not knowing. I think it's important that you share that information, that you don't keep it from you, because if she heard something or went outside or whatever, then, she would be at risk. Again, if people don't believe that you're seeing cryptids, there is always the suspicious man outside, It sounds to me like it, for some reason, was hunting you. It was looking for you, and if it tried to come into the house, it probably was coming for you. That would be my guess. But I appreciate everybody watching. I hope to see you guys tonight. We got a great show planned, guys. It's going to be 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, and it'll be a pretty in-depth one. We got some pretty scary videos we're going to show. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. Smash that like button for Hunter, and we'll see you on the next one.